What's up? I'm back. In this segment, I'm going to talk about education and vocabulary. It's kind of interesting because it's kind of a hard topic to even discuss because when people hear it, their mind automatically jumps to, I would say, the intellectuals that they know of now, which would consist of sometimes. Well, we could look at it like this from two angles. You could have the intellectuals that you might know of now, who might have been able to acquire large sums of information, but one, they may not be able to apply it, or two, they may only be able to explain the information or understand the information from one angle. That's the first group. Then the second group are people who may not be academically intellectual per se, but they might be well read. There might also be individuals who sometimes like to use a big vocabulary to sound smart. So I'm not really talking about these two groups for the most part. Words is still very important, and the vocabulary is very important, and education is very important. I myself, for the most part, I went to college. I do have a degree, but if I know what I know now, I would have probably went further along in my education. You know, when we look at the world as it is now, we look at it and it's obviously in bad shape, and the academic system is a disgrace currently. It basically educates people to get a job, but doesn't educate people how to be critical thinkers. But there is a value in education. There's a value in the words that you use. This is why even in yoga systems, right? For instance, some yoga systems, when a person starts to move up the ranks, they start to have to be mindful of the words they use. You start to see that they probably will no longer curse anymore. And to some, that may be kind of prudish, right? That may be unnecessary, but there is some truth to it because your conscious brain goes on mathematics, vocabulary, words, right? Numbers. The intuitive brain goes more by feeling, pictures. Now, what happens is that for the most part, what any spiritual or psychological system is trying to do is integrate both hemispheres of the brain. So even though it's taught that the subconscious brain wouldn't really, let's say, use words, it is true that when you repeat a word over and over and over again, it gets downloaded into the subconscious brain. So if you have the picture of a chair in your mind, right, you would associate chair, the picture of a chair, with a word chair. So the word actually exists in your mind before it becomes a spoken thought. Spoken word. So the thought is actually a word that's in your mind before the vocalized word comes about. And that's very important to understand because what will happen is as both hemispheres start to integrate themselves together, the subconscious mind in general starts being able to handle words better. Most importantly, words become a way for the subconscious mind to be able to picture certain concepts that are unknown to the subconscious mind. So I'll give you a good example. My Spanish is really bad for the most part, right? But I would say this when, let's say, I'm looking at some people racially, like a good example. In America, you tend to just look at things in white and black, right? That's it, right? White, black, dark skin, light skin, right? Sometimes, even someone who's light skinned, somebody would just say, oh, they look like a white guy. Or somebody who's mulatto, they'll say, oh, they look like a black guy. And every race does this. And in, Latin America, specifically in the Caribbean countries of Latin America, or even in certain places in South America with Caribbean cultures, Caribbean cultures like Venezuela and Colombia, what would happen is you would have many different words to classify race, right? So I have a friend who, that person always, when they see someone, they see something, they say white or black, that's it, right? And then when I see the same person, I would have all these different characteristics or labels in my mind of what the person could be racially. And then it's interesting because then I realized I always would say, what is causing this clash? And then I realized in that individual's mind, because their vocabulary is limited or the number of languages they speak are limited, they can't even picture certain things anymore. And that's when I first started to realize, I said, wow, the occultists are right. Because I'm not going to lie, many occultists have said this before. The real reason why for increasing your vocabulary is just to give strength to your imagination, to give protection to your imagination, to have your imagination be able to think in different ways. And in a sense, it's a symbol of the integration between your conscious and your subconscious mind or your intuitive mind. And there's a importance to speaking different languages. It's important if you only speak one language to using and increase the amount of words and understanding. You don't just use the words because it sounds deep. That's like word gathering. No, you have to understand what the word means. There's actually benefits to that. And what will happen is it will make your imagination more rich. And one problem most people have is that their imaginations is not really set up for spiritual work or for heavy occult work. And that's a big problem. That's why most people right now flock towards esoteric information that's not really relevant to their current spiritual journey. Things like Anunnaki and Greys and this type of fast food type of spirituality, the New Age community, the conscious community, like more fast food spiritual philosophies, which could help you in certain steps of your progression. But eventually, once you want to go past a certain threshold, you would have to change up and do something else or add something to your spiritual routine. Part of the problem is limited vocabulary. I don't want to get into the language stuff because that could come off elitist, but at least in terms of being able to understand words and what they mean and helping, and not just being trapped by those words, helping those words shape your imagination to be able to think in different ways where it can't normally think on that angle, really makes a big difference in your spirituality and your ability to do occult work. And in a sense, that's where you really start to see the purpose of a true education. The true education was supposed to be something that helps you on your spiritual journey. Of course, that's lost today because our education, we can't even integrate arts, Venetian arts into our education currently. But it's very important in a sense that when you understand the true importance of it, even if you're not educated, you don't have to go to college. It helps, but you don't have to go to college. But read books. Read books that's out your comfort zone. It's very important. When I heard Morgan Freeman say, reading Shakespeare helped him. I mean, I heard that 6 years ago. At first, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was a little bit elitist. Now I look at it like, give me any piece of material Shakespeare wrote. Why? Because different ways of speaking, looking at vocabulary or vocal patterns from different time periods could help. It just definitely helps change your imagination, changes what you can perceive as possibilities. And once you can perceive possibilities or different possibilities or added possibilities, then you could bring in things to your life that sometimes your logical mind may not be able to see how you can get there. It just makes you a better person. This is one of the reasons why, if you notice, my channel, I'm deleting a lot of my previous videos because I think when you come in the spiritual journey, it's not about enabling people. It's not about people saying, I'm interested in fast food spirituality and the person giving it to them. That's like, so if a person wants to hear about Anunnaki, and I don't just want to attack Anunnaki, but hear about concepts that are not really as relevant to their current spiritual growth, that ends up being counterproductive. So that's why you see me kind of moving in a more scientific and mathematical arenas. And this video, I guess, will be kind of considered more psychology. And not really, but I mean, it could be. And the reason why that is because at this point in 2014, 2012 came, nothing happened. It's about getting real. It's about studying things that you may not naturally associate with spirituality. People would say sometimes, well, why I got to study math? What does math have to do with the occult? Math has everything to do with the occult. Because, even when you're dealing with the occult, the astral deals with shapes. And shapes are based on mathematical patterns. So there's going to be certain things you're going to have to know. And a strong, logical mind only makes you a better occultist. Only makes you a better mystic. So a true education, a true vocabulary only makes your imagination sharper. Your imagination gets sharper. Doors open up to you that have been closed for all this time. Hope this helps. Till next time. Peace.